Questlove is here with a fantastic, entertaining, tear-inducing, and compelling documentary called Summer of Soul about the Harlem Cultural Festival that happened in 1969. I'm going to tell you if this is one you can enjoy on this July 4th right after this. Hey, Outlaw Nation! It's the Outlaw John Rocha back with another movie review for you here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Today I'm talking about this incredible, compelling, emotional, and thought-provoking documentary from Questlove. It's his debut as a filmmaker. The film is called Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised. This is out there now in theaters for you to see, or on HULU streaming right now. And I can't recommend this documentary enough. Walking out of the theater, I was absolutely moved. I took a little bit of time in the car afterwards just to sit there and absorb and process what I had seen in this documentary. It's an incredible time capsule of the black community in 1969, and it is thought-provoking, as I mentioned earlier, but full of some incredible musical performances from artists who are in their prime or coming into their prime, and also it's juxtaposed with a lot of the social and political movements that were happening at the time in the black community in America itself. So we're going to talk about that here on the review. As I said, this is from Questlove. It's his debut as a director. Of course, you know Questlove. He's a musician, DJ, drummer, songwriter, author. He's one of the producers on the Broadway cast album for Hamilton. Oh, and also the co-frontman for one of my favorite groups, The Roots. And some of you may only know The Roots as the in-house band for The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. But if you don't know The Roots music outside of that, do yourself a favor and go and get some of those CDs and listen to some of the most amazing rap music or music overall that you're ever going to listen to. So this, as I said, this documentary is a time capsule of a series of shows that happened in 1969. It was 6 shows over 6 weeks. It was at the Harlem Cultural Festival at Mount Morris Park, which is now Marcus Garvey Park. But this happened during the same year as the Woodstock Festival, 1969, as I said. So this documentary, the footage, all of it, the director, Hal Tucklin, the original director, Hal Tucklin, of all this footage, could not sell it to a TV studio or a film studio. Nobody wanted to touch it, and so it lay dormant for 50 years, I think in someone's basement, until producer Robert Fivalent, I hope I'm saying that right, found out about the footage, that it existed, got in touch with director Hal Tucklin, and was able to acquire the footage, and then Questlove came on to direct this documentary. So what you get in this documentary are some amazing performances from some phenomenal artists. It starts off with Stevie Wonder doing a remake of the Isley Brothers' It's Your Thing, but you've got so many incredible artists here, including Nina Simone, who, by the way, Nina Simone, and I know there was an incredible documentary on Netflix about her, but to watch her perform at this festival, when she is connecting with her community, when she is reading a poem, when she's singing her music, you understand why people have such a deep reverence for Nina Simone. Gladys Knight and the Pips are in this. Mahalia Jackson, gospel legend Mahalia Jackson, Sly and the Family Stone, who absolutely steal every second they're on screen, the staple singers B.B. King, Ray Barretto, the Temptations frontman David Ruffin, who had gone solo by this point. He came out and did some songs, The Fifth Dimension, and a bevy of black and African and Latino performers throughout. So if you just think you're going to watch this documentary and get a concert, yes, but you're also going to get this as a launching point to talk about the social and political issues that were happening during this time in the black community and in America in 1969. And by that I mean there were significant shifts in the culture, in the black culture that were happening. And of course, I'm not black, so I'm speaking about this as an outside observer and what was presented to me in the documentary. One of the people that really stands out is NPR correspondent Charlene Hunter Galt, and she talks about how she was working at the New York Times in 1969 and kind of made them change the word Negro to black. She wanted to make that very clear that black was becoming the identity of that community. They wanted to dispense with the word Negro. And when one of her editors changed the word black in her column about this, about whatever was happening in the black community to Negro, she wrote an 11-page memo that convinced editor Abe Rosenthal to change it. And of course, they talk also about fashion, and we get to see a behind-the-scenes look of how African looks and African styles were affecting fashion in Black America. We see some of that. And also, they talk about the moon landing, and we hear from the black community how they're saying, like, who cares about the moon landing? They're spending all that money to go to the moon, and people are suffering here in the country. People are suffering here in these black communities as well. And also, one of the most surprising aspects of this is New York Republican Mayor John Lindsay, who admittedly I had no idea about. This tall, striking white guy was a very big supporter of the festival. He showed up at the festival to speak about how proud he was that the festival was happening. You get present day interviews with these performers like Stevie Wonder and Gladys Knight and The Fifth Dimension. And I want to talk about this because this really struck me. Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. are talking on the documentary. And I've been a fan of Marilyn McCoo for a very long time. I love The Fifth Dimension. I remember, I'm a kid of the 80s, so I remember when she was like a co-host on Solid Gold. But her voice has always been one of the most resonant voices in music. So to see her speaking about their time in 1969 coming to perform at this festival and not knowing some of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on, and this is one of the quotes from the documentary, what she says, we were constantly being attacked because we weren't quote unquote black enough. She notes that fans of their hits sometimes thought the group was too white. Their sound was too white. And she said, sometimes we were called the black group with the white sound. We didn't like that because how do you color a sound? And then as she's watching the performances, Questlove brilliantly has these performers in present day watch their own performances and see the crowd's reaction to their own performances. She starts to tear up. She is so emotional because it was so important for her to be accepted by the black community, by her own people. And her watching that, you can see how emotionally resonant it is. And there are a number of emotionally resonant performances throughout this movie. As I said, you've got you got Sly and the Family Stone just stealing every moment they're in, or Nina Simone just absolutely commanding the stage. But also Mahalia Jackson and Mavis Staples performed this song, Take My Hand, Precious Lord, that was apparently one of Martin Luther King Jr.'s favorite songs. Both of these gospel powerhouses absolutely decimate this song and elevate it to a spiritual experience as well. And then you've got some other people who are some other luminaries who speak on this documentary: Chris Rock, Sheila E., Lin-Manuel Miranda, and Luis Miranda. And they talk about, what was happening at the time with the assassinations with Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy Jr., with Martin Luther King, with Malcolm X. All these assassinations, they speak about what was happening in the community, what was this feeling of needing to have a place to kind of take this frustration and maybe be soothed by some of the performances. And I think it's said in the documentary as though that they set this festival up to avoid having some of the riots that had happened in other cities after the death of Martin Luther King Jr. So certainly this aspect of it all is an important aspect to explore and dive into. So I can't recommend this documentary enough. It's July 4th weekend. It's July 4th today as I'm recording this review, and it's a celebration of America. But you got to celebrate all of America, and I think this documentary is a celebration of Black America, but also a celebration of Americans and how they're able to overcome trials and tribulations and obstacles and challenges to become a powerful voice in the world. And so I think this documentary is a great time capsule, but also a documentary that will teach you a number of lessons, that will show you some things that maybe you hadn't seen before, and also that the black community, you understand why the black community feels at times like their history is being erased. The fact that this the fact that this footage sat in a basement for 50 years before anybody found it is just mind-blowing and sad, and you could also say typical, unfortunately. So go and see this documentary or watch this documentary on Hulu. I give it 5 cowboy hats out of 5. I'm telling you, this is a spiritual experience, an educational experience, and a culturally educational experience that every person should watch and enjoy. All right, let me know what you thought about the movie or this review down in the comments section below. Remember to hit a like button on this as well, and share it all over your social media to get more people aware that we're doing these reviews and trailer reactions and pre-produced videos and live shows here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Subscribe down below, hit that bell button to let you know when we're dropping all the great content, and most of all, take care of yourselves, be well, and I'll talk to you next time on another review for you here from the Outlaw Nation.